We are back. When I say we, me, Leslie Marshall. How you doing? Welcome back. We also have Fred Redmond. Mr. Redmond is Secretary Treasurer of the 63 unions and 15 million members, whenever I think I have a lot on my plate, of the AFL-CIO. And you know what? If you didn't know what they were doing, there's no way you don't now. I see Secretary Treasurer Redmond and I see President Schuler everywhere, all the time. I turn on CNN, one of them's everywhere. I see them everywhere. In 2022, he was unanimously elected to the position as the highest ranking African American officer in the history of the labor movement in the United States of America. And his path to the Federation's second highest office, well, it began back in 1973. He went to work at Reynolds Metals Company in Chicago, became a member of the United Steelworkers, USW, and we got to meet him back then there. He was active in his local union almost immediately. He served as shop steward, and eventually he became vice president. He served 3 terms as local president, and in 2021 was elected president of the Trade Union Confederation of the Americas. That is not only a prestigious post, it's an international post. Check out the AFL-CIO. They're doing so much. Their website is aflcio.org. Their handle on Blue Sky is at aflcio.org. Their handle on Facebook, Instagram, and X is at AFL-CIO. And Secretary Treasurer Redmond is his handle on X is at ST Redmond. Well, Secretary Redmond, good to have you with us. There's so much to talk about. You just wrapped up the AFL-CIO, wrapped It's a Better Union nationwide bus tour. Tell us about this. It was 26 states, 40 plus cities. What was the goal? What was the message?
Well, thank you, Leslie. It's a pleasure to be with you. For the last couple of months, 2.5 months, myself and President Schuler and many of our national presidents from our executive councils, we decided to go around the country and to really have a conversation with workers around the country. And, our tour has really given workers a opportunity to share their thoughts, their frustrations, their anger in a lot of cases with this administration and the situation that's happening with workers. So, I was all in all, the tour's been successful. We've been amplifying the voice of workers around this country. And, they have really been expressing themselves in terms of how do they feel about this attack on collective bargaining, where we have seen over 1 million government workers lose their collective bargaining rights. They have some serious concerns about cuts to Medicaid. They have serious concerns about the elimination of the Department of Education. And workers are concerned. They're pissed off, And what the tour was designed to do was to amplify their voices and to make sure that we're giving workers a platform to really state their frustrations.
You know what? I have to say, I commend you and President Schuler for doing this. It's one thing to take a phone call, to get a message, to read an email, to have a poll, but to really get out there, to take the time face to face, shake some hands, look in eyes, really listen to what people are doing. It's grassroots. It's very successful for many politicians. We saw AOC do it. Mondani is doing it in New York. And your organizational mobilization was specifically for 3 areas. And I wanted you maybe to tell us why these 3 areas and the frustration of union workers, the millions of the AFL-CIO. And this was for freedom, fairness, and security. Talk to us about freedom, talk to us about fairness, and talk to us about security and the concerns that the AFL-CIO millions of members have throughout this country.
Well, we titled our bus tour as Freedom, Fairness, and Security. When we talk about freedom, we're talking about the freedom to join a union, a freedom to participate in collective bargaining, we're talking about the freedom to make sure that the government is working for them. And when we talk about fairness, we're talking about building a economy, an economic position where workers are put at first, not an economy that's being constructed today by billionaires, for billionaires. And when we talk about fairness, we're not really talking about a fair tax code, but we're talking about fairness in the workplace, where workers can have the protections of OSHA and government agencies to provide for their safety on the job. We're talking about fairness for workers to be able to share in the wealth that they help to create. And when we talk about security, we're basically focused on retirement security. Whereas after workers work all their lives to provide for their families, that one day they can retire with the dignity and self-respect that they deserve. And what we're finding under this administration is those three topics, okay, are really under jeopardy with the policies that's coming out of the White House. I mean, the attacks on Medicaid, the attacks on which is going to raise insurance rates throughout this country, the attacks on OSHA, the elimination of certain departments in OSHA that provide for workers' health and safety on the job. So fairness, freedom, and security is the things that we've been focusing on in this bus tour.
Speak to me, Secretary Redmond, about the frustration because, we've talked for years and there
Yeah.
is a constant threat and frustration about big corporations profiting off the backs of working people. Is it fair to say this administration and specifically policies within this administration continue to raise cost more, which give corporations a green light to profit more off the backs of working people and to cut things that are essential? Saving services. Is this part of the gripes and part of what they're pissed off about?
Oh, without a doubt. And, what we're seeing through this administration, the issue of income inequality. We're living in a time, Leslie, where the average CEO, the top 100 CEOs in this country, okay, based on numbers from the Fortune 500 companies, make 285 times what their average worker makes. And that's unacceptable. I mean, workers are working harder and harder every day. The only thing they're asking is to have a share in the wealth that they help to create. And what we're seeing is, particularly with these attacks on collective bargaining, is that workers are being squeezed. Their voices are being silent. And one thing about the freedom, fairness, and security bus tour that we did, we're giving workers a voice where a lot of their representatives in Congress have refused to hold town halls to
Right.
hear their voices. So, we see that workers are feeling uh, different than throughout my history in the union than they've ever felt. I mean, these issues have always been out there, but they've been so exacerbated by this administration and its policies that workers are understanding, okay, that we're shifting, slowly shifting from a democracy to an autocracy where only a few get to share in the wealth of this country while the rest of us, is suffering.
Yeah,
I'm.
absolutely. To quote President Schuler, she said,
Mhm.
working people are the backbone of this country. We do the things our community count on at schools and hospitals, factories and
That's
construction
right.
sites, small and big businesses. Yet too many families can't keep food on the table, pay the rent, afford childcare. And you were talking, Secretary Redmond, about, Medicare or, Medicaid. I know with the 26 cities, and excuse me, 46 cities and 40 cities in 26 states, joining picket lines, supporting organizing campaigns, visiting, Veterans Affairs, Medicaid-funded facilities and hospitals. Some of these have been decimated, gutted entirely by Doge. These people are terrified about their future and about their livelihood. These people. The only people they have to speak for them are you guys at the AFL-CIO, are their union, because, like you said, their government's not listening. They won't take the time to hear them, and they're not helping them.
Yeah, well, people got to understand the significance of Medicaid. One out of every five children is born in the United States. Their birth is covered through Medicaid. I
Right.
mean, Medicaid is not some program just for the indigent and the poor. I mean, people who adopt children, wards of the state, those children are on Medicaid. People who have handicapped children, those children are on Medicaid. And workers throughout this country know that. They know that they're going to feel this pain by this administration. And for what? To give more tax breaks to the richest people in this country, the billionaires. And workers are saying that, this isn't what they voted for. A lot of our members voted for this guy, but they didn't vote for this. They didn't vote to see the Department of Education decimated. They didn't vote for that. So workers are expressing their resentment, their frustrations, through these bus tours, where in a lot of cases, a lot of places we go in the red states, a lot of places we go, they're not afforded a audience with their Congress people.
And
So we're
that's
taking
just
that spot.
unconscionable. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely unconscionable. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Secretary Treasurer Fred Redmond from the AFL-CIO. Check out their website, aflcio.org. On Blue Sky, follow at aflcio.org. And on Facebook, Instagram, and X, follow at AFL-CIO. Secretary Treasurer Redmond is on X as well, at ST Redmond. And by the way, many seniors have Medi-Medi. When you look at their insurance, it's Medicare, Medicaid. So you're hurting seniors and disabled. It's not just the poor folk in the country. We'll be back right after this. We are back. I'm Leslie Marshall, and we have Secretary Treasurer Fred Redmond from the AFL-CIO joining us. Follow him on X at ST Redmond, and check out on Facebook, Instagram, and X the AFL-CIO. They have a lot of information there at AFL-CIO. Also on Blue Sky at aflcio.org. And their website. Like I said, you want information or you want to find out, a little bit more. You want somebody to back you as a hard working American. Go to aflcio.org for more information. Secretary Redmond, thank you for holding. Welcome back. Well,
Yeah.
we have a 4-day week courtesy of people that are hard workers. Labor Day wouldn't be possible without the laborers who've made it possible. Tell us about the AFL-CIO workers' Labor Day Workers Deserve week of action.
Well, this week of action, it's been a good week. The AFL-CIO, we sponsored over 1,000 events in around 900 cities around the country. And this Workers' Labor Day week is a celebration of working people, and it's a celebration of the power that we
Right.
have when we come together in a union. And we have the power to take back our country for working people and not billionaires. So it's about expressing our solidarity because we know, as Leah Schuler stated and you accurately quoted, the workers built this country. And we feel very strongly that workers deserve an economy, a government, and a country for the people, not the billionaires. And in the streets and on the shop floor and union halls and the halls of Congress, this Workers' Labor Day week has shown that the billionaires, who we are and how we fight. I mean, we've been showing up. We've had huge crowds at these events. We've been to rallies, picnics, parades. I'm in New York today. We're going to have a large parade in the city of New York tomorrow, and workers are turning out in record numbers. I was speaking to a gentleman in Philadelphia last week, and Monday during Labor Day, I was in Philadelphia, and I was speaking to a gentleman, a retiree, and he said, "I've never marched in a Labor Day parade, but with the situation in this country was too important." And he brought his wife out, his kids, his grandkids, and he said, we got to make sure that we're showing up, that our voices are being heard, because this cannot be tolerated. People are literally seeing the destruction of their country. They're recognizing it, workers recognizing it, and they're showing up. So it's been a tremendous experience this Labor Day week. And what we've been doing is just offering the platform for workers to come out and express their frustrations.
Yeah, again, to quote President Schuler, big corporations and billionaires like Elon Musk and President Trump launched the biggest attacks on unions in history because they know that when we stand together, we have the power to speak out and fight back. Interestingly enough, in the first Trump administration, they demonized unions. Really, you would think that
Right,
unions were to blame for almost every ill in the United States of America. But something good came out of that. More and more people unionized, right? Unions
right,
became, more popular. More people joined unions. Membership went up, and it continues to do that. But you need to treat your workers, you need to treat your workers better than the CEO. The people that are rowing the boat need to be, treated better than the captain, who's, standing at the helm. And unions get that. And I think most Americans get that. Speaking of, the American people are rooting for the workers, right? More than 70% of Americans and nearly 9 out of 10 younger people younger than 30, support unions. So they're supporting this fight for freedom, fairness, and security. So in a way, I guess we should thank the demonization, because
Yeah,
it's led
yeah.
to people being more supportive of unions and more people joining unions, which is a good thing for workers, and hopefully in the future a good thing for the working class overall, and the fabric of America, the working fabric of America.
Right. Well, polls have shown, Leslie, you're exactly right, that we're polling in terms of favorability ratings, we're polling 20% higher in terms of trust than the Democrat or Republican parties. I mean, people are betting for their, self-respect and their freedom, their security, through the labor movement, because they're realizing that the labor movement is the voice where workers can really, really rally together, show solidarity, and turn this thing around. So, through the leadership of President Schuler, we've been very, very conscious of the heartbeat of workers around this country, and we've been rallying workers around this country. If we could get uh, organizing elections through the NLRB, which this president has decimated, okay, but if we could get board elections today, okay, then we can organize thousands of workers if we could get petitions out of the NLRB, but because of the situation with the firing of Glenn Wilcox, the lack of a
Yeah.
quorum, all of those petitions are on hold. But what workers are realizing is that through worker solidarity, when workers stand together, and when we really live through that expression that injury to one is injury to all, workers are realizing that this is a fight that we all have to engage in. And like the gentleman told me at the rally, we got to show up. We have to show up. We have to make sure our voices is heard. And it's through that
No,
solidarity.
absolutely. Especially when you have and not just cuts. Let's talk about the executive order. Let's talk
Yeah.
about union busting executive orders, and issued right before Labor Day. This is like a middle finger to the workers, right? There was a March order that ripped away collective bargaining rights, which he has now expanded, from workers at NASA, the International Trade Association, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the National Weather Service, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the U.S. Agency for Global Media, the Bureau of Reclamation, and others. And he did this just ahead of Labor Day. Is this president flipping the bird at unions and workers?
Well, absolutely. And that's on top of the 400,000 workers whose contracts were canceled at the VA, the EPA, the USDA. I mean, people that inspect our foods. Come on now. Okay. I mean, these are people who get
This,
up
I
every
mean, and
morning.
I'm not trying to have a pun here, recipe. It is a
Right.
recipe for disaster. I mean, come on, whether it's vaccines or whether it's food
Yeah.
inspection or cancer research, this is frightening where we're headed. It really is, especially for the hardworking middle class American worker.
Right. This is very frightening. And, listening to the testimony of Robert Kennedy yesterday. I mean, it's just devastating to hear that a person who's a non-vaxxer, okay, is trying to justify eliminating vaccines. So I mean, we're living in
Whose 6 children, by the way, are all vaccinated.
are all vaccinated. That's correct.
Yeah.
So we're living in very, very difficult times. And the thing that gives hope to people, I'm proud to say, is the labor movement. They see us out there, they see us fighting. We're fighting in the courts, we're fighting in the streets. But the key thing that we're doing is we're organizing workers around this country. Unionized workers and non union workers are coming to the labor movement to join into this movement for freedom, fairness, and security. And we're going to keep fighting. We're going to continue to fight into the midterms and beyond until we can restore a sense of sanity to our government and make sure that workers around this country is being treated fairly. And look,
Well,
more,
do you think that, not just you, Secretary Treasurer Redmond,
mhm,
but do you think the workers are surprised at how the president chose to commemorate Labor Day by specifically, launching an all-out attack on workers and unions, by, expanding this executive order that started back in March.
Yeah, I think workers are surprised. And see, it's our job as a labor movement to really get out there. And that's the purpose of our bus tour. We're going to keep having those conversations with workers to do what we call teach-ins and really, really explain to workers what's happening. And if the president with the stroke of a pen could eliminate collective bargaining rights for federal employees, then workers in the private sector, okay, is naive if they think that the same thing cannot happen to them. That's the message that we're spreading. And that
Right.
message is taking root with workers around this country. None of us is immune from the attack from this president and this administration. None of us as workers is immune because this president has issued an all-out attack on working people throughout this country and organized labor, and we're gearing up and we're preparing for the fight.
Secretary Redmond, 60 seconds left. Last,
Sure.
Message you'd like to leave the last minute with our viewers and listeners.
Well, I just want to leave with your viewers that, look, the numbers are clear, okay? 78,000, that's the number of manufacturing jobs, not including today's jobs report. 78,000 number of manufacturing jobs that Trump has killed this year. Nearly 2 million is the number of unemployment claims that the workers have filed since this man became president, the largest in the history that we have seen since 2017. Nearly 1 million is the number of federal workers who the Trump administration stripped of their collective bargaining rights, and 44% of parents who plan to go into debt, who can't afford to buy their kids school supplies for this school semester because of the reckless tariffs that has raised prices on goods throughout this country. So the message that I want to leave to your viewers is this administration is not working for us. It's working for the billionaires and the CEOs. But we have to stand together and push back like those who came before us did. We fought the Carnegies, we fought the Fricks, we fought the Mellons, and we are prepared and we're going to continue to fight Trump until workers see their just due.
And we thank you for that and count on you for that. Secretary Treasurer Fred Redmond of the AFL-CIO. Please check out their website, aflcio.org. On Blue Sky, follow them at aflcio.org. And on Facebook, Instagram, and X, follow them at AFL-CIO. You can also follow Secretary Redmond on X. His handle is at @STRedmond. I'm Leslie Marshall. A shout out to Mark Grimaldi, our executive producer, and thank everybody for watching and for listening. Our two guests in this hour. Always more to come here on the only true democracy in talk.